All right, folks, welcome to another weekend. And this time we have a new activity for you. We have the first mock interviews for this cohort. And yeah, let's see how it goes. We have Yash. Welcome, Yash, to this
Hey
call.
everyone.
Yash is one of our C1 alums, and he's one of the most ambitious people I've met. Like he's always like looking to do more, to do the next thing. Yeah, so if you have anything to chat about, feel free to hit him up after the call as well. And yeah, Yash, do you want to give a quick introduction before we start?
So sure. So like I'm a 2020 batch computer science graduate, and like I graduated from PS University Bangalore. And like my journey with like Rocket started when like it was Elevate Labs. It was not Rocket. So like I made 5 projects, 3 blog, got 2 reviews onto it, and then I made it into Rocket. And then I got my first job via Rocket as well. So I was working on a like in a health tech like company. It was German company. So over there I worked on a client project called Mark Cuban Cost Plus Drug Company. Like if you guys must be aware that he recently came up with like his own like pharmacy company. So I worked over there as a front end developer, and the tech stack involved were Next.js and React, and there were a couple of backend technologies as well, but I didn't got a chance to work on it. So yeah, that's about me. So Swapnil, how should we go around this?
Yeah. So folks who would volunteer, who want to volunteer, who feel they are interview ready and they haven't given an interview before, raise your hands. We'll pick from you. Um, it was going to be chill. Of course, it's going to be high pressure for sure. But like I always say, volunteers always get the most out of these sessions. So whoever feels they're ready for interviews and have not given interviews yet, um, raise your hand. We'll start from there. Okay, I sense. Okay, let's do a waterfall activity on a scale of 0 to 100. How ready do you feel you are for interviews? Don't press enter yet. Type in the chat. It could be a random number like 42. It could be a more calculated number. Anything that you feel you are at right now, and let's see those answers in 3, 2, 1, go. Nimish, what is this, man? This is like you are like 400% ready, which is pretty cool.
No, actually, I wanted to write 40. I write 400. Sorry.
Okay. All right. I see 55, 60, 40, 69, 40, 60, 40, 45. A bunch of numbers. Okay. Um, so you know where you stand right now. Isme say, do you want to volunteer? Should I pick you? Like, I should not pick you up. You should volunteer. And yeah, just think of it as a safe space. Harshna, have you given interviews before? All right, we'll start with Harshna then. And let me.
Interviews in the sense like my own job interview I did give, but not any recently.
Okay. Anyone in the like last 3 to 6 months?
No.
Okay, we'll start with that. Other folks, you can turn off your video so that these people are not distracted, and make notes. So and think of it as uh, you are also giving the interview side by side. So whatever questions are being asked, try to note down your answers as well in your notes, and then yeah, you can do a quick reflection. I'll also go on mute and I'll pass this to Yash. We are at a real interview. Let's go. All the best, Harshna.
Thank you.
All right. So Harshna, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How
And like
well,
all good, I'm all good as well. So like could you please tell me a little bit about your experience, your background? Like
yeah.
could you please introduce yourself a little?
Yeah, I'm Harshna Haswani, and I am currently working at a open source foundation called Coco Foundation, where I work for designing templates using Page.js, a tool to convert HTML to PDFs, and I also work with static site generators like Elementy. And apart from that, I've done a boot camp called Neoji Camp, where I learned a Monstack plus all the TypeScript and testing Redux toolkit. And I love like reading books because they help me give an insight on other people's perspective.
Awesome, awesome. So like, which is the recent book you have studied, like, or you are currently studying?
I read fiction, and so recently I read this thing. It was I forgot the name, but it was a book on like a psychological patient, and so what the doctor who comes to treat the psychopatient is the one actually who put her there. So uh,
All right, all right. Okay, so like I'll walk you through the like process which we are going to follow, all right. So you said that you have like you have been part of a boot camp or Neo-G camp, right? So like speaking of the process, like I'll firstly ask some basic HTML and CSS questions, and then we'll proceed ahead with the JavaScript questions. I won't be asking much React in detail because like since you have told, and like if the time permits, we'll definitely ask React questions, but like majorly the interview would be revolving around HTML and CSS only, along with JavaScript. Like I'll be checking some logical based questions and all those things.
okay.
So firstly, could you please share your screen and open any editor of your choice?
The screen sharing is disabled.
Okay.
Try now.
I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, yes, I do. Or do one thing, like just open JS Fiddle because it's quite lightweight as compared to Code Sandbox.
Sorry. Just a second, my system hanging up. Yeah, okay.
No worries.
Yeah.
All right. So firstly, like I need you to, draw a square. Basically, like create a square and like position it on the center of the screen. Like it should be centered horizontally and it should be centered vertically as well.
So just a div for the HTML of the square, and on the CSS part, okay, I'll just add a class. The square, and since we need a square, I'm gonna add a radius to it. Sorry, I'm adding a border. So it's solid black, and I want it to be visible on the screen, so I'm adding min width 200 pixel and min height 700 pixel. Since I want it to be centered, I'll say position absolute. Yeah. See, okay. Can I see this?
I guess you need to, like complete your code in HTML properly. Like it just dev, so it won't render on the screen. Like right from HTML to the whole body.
Okay, okay. I think JSP just adds it like that. Just take a look.
Or what you can do is just type a just type an exclamation mark and hit tab, so it would emit the whole structure. Like if it, because it's just a easier way to get your time around writing all those trivial things, just like we do emit in VS Code, right? Like hit exclamation mark and then hit tab.
Thanks for letting me know.
Now you can dive into, like, alternatively, if you would press Control S, or you could like hit a run button on the nav bar, like your element would be
I did
rendered.
hit Control S actually earlier.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm adding a translate to so that if the length of the box also gets centered.
Mhm.
Yeah, centered.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. So, like, could you tell me about little bit about pseudo selectors? Like, what are pseudo selectors?
Yes, so you sometimes you need to add properties like before and after an element, which are not actually an HTML element. So to do that, you use pseudo selectors. Are a way to add something to the DOM, but the element is not actually in the DOM.
Okay. Okay. So like I need one thing in this particular square. So let's just say like I have a text, all right, and it should only be visible whenever I hover on the square. Like it should be inside the this particular square, and it should only be visible when I hover over it.
Okay, I can do that. So what do you say? Dot square. And when I say when it is hovering, you need to add a content inside the square and say hi. User. Oh, just a second. What happened? Does it not work? Okay. Yeah. It should work now.
Just try giving some color,
Oh,
like
I
it
did not
misty
run.
white.
I did not run it. Yeah. It should technically run. I mean, I've done this before.
Okay, never mind. So like since we have like time crunch, we'll move next. Just see after the interview how it should be done. Okay,
Yeah.
like what's the problem and like what blocker we are having. Okay, so like could you please explain me an example where you must have used CSS and JS, or what exactly CSS and JS particularly is?
Okay, so CSS and JS is like adding like CSS inside the JavaScript directly. So I was working on a project like in my current company where we had grid placed elements on the grid like a task.
Mhm.
It was like a UI based, like a grid like this, and when you hover over the grid, like you can add tasks. So to place those tasks directly on the person, what we did was like we got um the X position and the Y position from in JavaScript, and we
Mhm.
created the element and added the CSS property using JavaScript, like
Uh,
the grid position JavaScript.
Okay, could you give me a tiny example of like how would you do that in a JavaScript? Just write any boiler function code in JavaScript, and I just want to see the syntax. How would you?
Okay, so first I'm gonna select the square. So on square div, so div is equal to document dot um, so square dot style, um, or I can actually do, if I have a class, I can do say my class. What is my class? Right? Yeah, display one. So what I'll do is square div dot class list. Did why did I have to do that? Isn't it? Square div is not defined. Okay, spelling is like this.
Okay, square div style. Okay, so the best practice I would suggest over here is like converting like creating any style in the form of objects, and then creating a function, and then just directly invoking that function into your particular style. So like for example, like I'll post it in the chat afterwards. Like that is a practice which you folks should follow, because like even I got pipped in multiple interviews of classifying between good practices and bad practices. It's not very hard and fast, but we should follow bad like good practices most of the times to impress our way out. So so all right, like I'll move on to the JS part. So like could you give me the important difference between the var, let and const, along with some basic examples of it?
Okay, so let's have three variables over here. So where a is equal to 6 and let b is equal to 9 and const the this is 0. Okay, so first difference is like const is a constant and let and work can be changed, and const has to be declared at the start, while where and let, if you don't declare define them earlier, you just need to declare it. And another thing is like if var is undefined, right? If var is undefined and if I actually call it, it'll work like it will say undefined.
Mhm.
It should be if 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 I call it before it has been declared, like I can actually access it because the it is hoisted with where the variable is hoisted on top. But if I declare, if I call B, it will say the variable has not been defined and the variable has not been declared. Similarly with the const, so the let and const are not hoisted and where is always hoisted. And yeah, that's it. So these are like block level elements, and the A is like a global scope element.
Okay, so what is like block scope element?
A block scope means like if I have a function or anything, a class really. So if I define these variables in here, it can only be accessible inside this and not the whole document.
Okay. You said that constant, like once defined, we cannot change it, right?
Right.
So like I'm putting up a question in the chat. So or just you write it down over the JS Fiddle itself. Like just clear this HTML and CSS part, no, and like just clear this JS part as well. Like I guess I'll post it in the chat itself.
Okay.
Or just do one thing. Just create an object of like random numbers. Take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
Create an object.
Uh, I have you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And create another object, like I said, object
Yeah, but okay.
like in a key value pair, in a key,
Yeah.
like just
Okay.
put it as a1 b2 3, some like that.
Hmm.
And now just create another object.
Yeah.
Okay, so just
Correct.
now just try pushing an
Uh,
element into any object, or just do one thing, just delete object 2. Just remove object 2, and then like we'll try to like push any element in this, and just console it. I want to see like
कोई और होगा.
See, it's giving me an error. It's actually giving me an error. Yeah.
And
You
why is
cannot,
that so?
because you cannot, like, I can change the property value of an object, like I can change the value of A, B, and C, but I cannot directly add any new keys to the object itself.
Come again, sorry.
So since this is a constant object, I cannot
Mhm.
add any new property to it, but I can change the value of the existing properties.
Okay, so why is it not happening now? Like you said that you can change the like contents of these particular items, but not change the like you can't basically like reassign it, right?
Yeah, because I am actually adding a new property, like that is why it's giving me an error. So if I just do like object object one dot A is equal to 5, so then it will work.
Okay, got it, got it. Okay, so you told like while like while defining where let and const, you told that like some of the things like for example they were hoisted on the top. So what exactly is hoisting?
Hoisting is like when the JavaScript compiles like for the first time, and while it's going through the document, it will recognize all the variables, and then it will put it to the top of the document tree. Like these are there.
Okay, okay. So like every like you like where let and const like all three of them are hoisted.
No, only where variables are hoisted. And
Uh,
when you use the function keyword, the function names are hoisted on top. That's why functions, if you define use functions using the function keyword, like you're able to access it like from the top before the function is declared. But if you use the const keyword only after you declare the define the function, you are able to access it below.
okay, okay. So you told that like key like you told that only where is hoisted, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yes,
Let and const is not hoisted.
not hoisted.
Okay, so like could you please explain me like how JS works in detail, like with execution context and like properly in detail?
Okay, so first, like initially there's one. So JS is like just in time, like when we run the script on the browser. Only at that time it compiles everything. It's not before the runtime. So on the runtime, like it'll go a line by line. First, it will just run an empty run, and it'll like recognize all the variables and everything, and after that it works like an interpreter and runs it like step by step, each line.
Okay, okay. So do you know how event loop works?
Yeah, I do know that. So like if something, okay, so first this is one line, like this line, it gets added on top of the stack, and it gets executed, and then the next line is added on top of the stack. If there's a function called the so if I have a function here, okay, and then I have a function call. Then what happens is that the function this line is put on top of the stack, like A is put on top of the stack, and above that, like the call is happening, and all the processes uh inside A will get added. So since it's a stack, these processes get executed first, and then it'll return something. That return value comes here. The return value comes here, and then this A is removed.
Okay, got it, got it. Okay, so like I have one more question. Like, did you ever come across a term called temporal dead zone or TDC? And if you could explain me a little about that,
I did
what
come
exactly?
across it, but I forgot right now.
Uh, okay, okay, no worries. Fine. Okay, so what are local storage and session storage? Like we have different storage method, right?
Yeah.
So,
Look,
and if you could also explain me how do we create entries, read and delete entries using them.
So local storage and session storage are web storage APIs. So when you want to store the data temporarily on the temporarily or for some time, like on the user system, you use them. So what is the main difference between them is that local storage it stores the data permanently until you explicitly remove that data, but session storage is like till you have a browser window open, only till then, and one window cannot access the storage of another window. Then what so to set the item, like the methods are same, only you differ like local storage or session storage here, but the methods are same on both. So what you do is first you in the set item is used to add the item to the local storage, and first you give the key by what name you should say. So I'm just gonna add a mock here, and then you add the value over here, say 42. So this will in the local storage, like it'll, oh my god, when I open the dev tools here. Okay, so I can just show it to you on another tab. So can you please open? Please. Just a second, it's hanging.
No worries, take your time. But you were trying to do something in JS Fidel itself.
No. So I was opening the local storage over here and
Okay.
showing you where it gets stored. So as you can see, my system is hanging very badly. Yeah, okay. So under the applications, so here the local storage and the session storage. And for this new tab, it will come over here and you can see the data stored. So I have the value key mock now. So mock will come over here and the value gets stored over here. Like the 42 will come and get stored over here. But, and so if I want to retrieve that 42 value, what I would do is I would say local storage dot get item of mock, and then it will give me that value, and if nothing is there, it will return null. Plus I can, if I don't want that item there anymore, I can explicitly remove it by saying local storage dot remove item and giving the key that is mock.
Okay, so could you please explain me about cookies as well, like how cookies work?
Yeah, so cookies, like they fetch data from the browser, and that data is stored like cache on the system. But the problem with cookies is that you cannot like they allow only a very limited amount of data, but and they make the user system very heavy, like lot of unnecessary data.
Okay, and like did you ever get a chance to create a captcha for a website, or do you know what captcha is?
I know what is a captcha, but I have never created it before.
Okay, and do you know the working behind it, or like how do we create a captcha? Like you said that you have never worked on it, but like if you could like just like going by the definition of it, and what use cases or what application does it solve? So could you give me a like overall design? Basically, design system is a heavy word, but if you could walk me through, how captcha is created, like what approach would you take to create a captcha?
No, I said that I've never worked with a captcha before. I don't know what, like how it works behind the scenes.
Okay. Fine, like I'll give you a question now, like basically just a second. You just need to walk me through your approach. What kind of approach you would take in this?
Okay.
I've posted in a chat.
Yeah. I
Like you're not supposed to use any inbuilt function.
write a program to reverse a string. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna delete all of this.
Or write a function, like just a driver function basically.
Okay, so first once reverse string of first I would get this string as an input parameter, and what I would do is first I would split this string like into smaller pieces, like so using a for loop. I would
Mhm.
since strings are actually an array of characters, I would use a for loop and split the string into characters, and then I would reverse the array. Like I would push each character into the array, and then I would start from the last element and keep concatenating each character.
Okay, so could you please write it for me?
Yeah. So let's do that. Now I'm creating an empty array like chars array, and then I would say a string dot for each loop. So for each character loop, chars dot push of character, and mm, then I do as not. No, wait. This I have a better method. I can just use a reverse order, right? Yeah. And then I'd say um for let equal to string dot length, um I less than I greater than or equal to 0. I minus minus. I would just reverse the order. Then string chars is equal to, okay, I should name that better. Chars plus I, string of I, return chars. This is how I would do it. Oh, what happened? Expect, okay, okay, just a second. Assignment to function call and oh yeah, my bad. This is a constant, not a function. Yes. This like this and I'm saying that now. Reverse string. Undefined. Okay, what is it? It is undefined. But, it is defined, right? Why are you?
Okay, Harshna, yeah, like we just like reiterate it over like after this interview. Like you are like correct only, but like just see like why is it not working? Maybe what you can do is like like for loop you can create and reiterate over the whole length, and like during first iteration, so basically you could use string dot length -1, and then it gives the position of your last element, and then that element you could store it in a new string variable, and then basically the value of I decreases in each iteration until it becomes
Right,
0.
right. I get it. I get it.
Yeah. Okay, so so what are your plans now, like for the next 1 year? How would like what is your career trajectory which you would be eyeing for the next 1 year?
So I just learned one stack, and I want to give the next at least few months to completely like in the I have never worked professionally with Monstack, so I would for the next few months I would want to get a strong foothold in that, and after that I would again want to learn a new technology, maybe next. Yes, that is what I would do.
Okay, so you told that you want to learn a new technology, but
Yeah.
let's just say like in my company, let's just say like we are supposed to like one project comes and we are supposed to use Angular onto it. You said that you are proficient in MERN,
Yeah.
and like how would you go about it? Like what is the average time you would consider to get yourself up and running with that particular project?
Okay, so I've actually faced these situations in real life and at my current workplace. So, about since I would analyze the complexity of a project first, and since MERN is actually similar to React, it would take me lesser amount of time, and then but it's framework related, so I need to learn how to like work in a but inside the development environment only, and not like a separate library. So I would say I can learn it in a week. Yeah, week would be nice because I need to consider the other factors also, unexpected factors.
Okay, got it. And you said that you have practiced MERN stack. So
Yes.
let's just say if a project comes in PHP, or some like let's just consider PHP only. So would you be happy to work on that?
I actually love the like playing around with different technologies, but I would test it out. Like I would use PHP and C, and if I like it, I would do it. And if I don't like it, like if there's a requirement, I would do it. But then I would say that I don't want to work on this technology.
So let's say I just have 5 developers in my team.
Okay.
So if you don't like it, then how would we go around? Like because I have a project coming up in PHP now, and that is a big project. And you said that if you like it, you'll work on it, and if you don't find your way around, you'll skip it. So
No, that's not what I meant. I said like if there's a requirement, I would complete that project, but later on I would say that I no don't want to work on this project. Like if I'm under a time, if the company is under a timing constraint, like they really need someone and they don't have enough, like, so I would happily work on it. I've done it before. I have learned now. I've worked on technologies I don't like, but at like on the longer run I would love to work on the stack that I like.
okay, got it, got it. So yeah, like that was it, and thanks for your time.
Thank you so much for conducting this and having me here.
Yeah, and just like all those interview panels says, like in recruiter will get in touch with you. So yeah.
Since this is can I just say how much? Oh my god, my heartbeat is literally going.
All right, Swapnil, we are done.
Thank you so much, Yash. I just realized how
Awesome.
And apparently all these questions were in which I got stuck as well. Like I've been given interviews, so even I got stuck in few of the questions. So I just I've thrown directly to you.
yeah. The temperature went like out of control for me. Oh, it's scary.
All right. Let's do a quick reflection. Maybe Harshna, do you want to like maybe 1 minute you can talk about it, and then we'll move forward. How was it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, I thought like I knew everything, but apparently when I just said that, like, everything went blank. All the questions that he has asked, I've worked with everything before, and I have actually read about everything. But when I actually had to speak about it, like my mind went blank. I couldn't remember stuff.
All right, we'll do a quick reflection for folks in the chat as well. Um, hope you solved the questions at the same time. So on a scale of 0 to, let's say, yeah, we'll do same 0 to 100. If you were asked the same questions, like nothing else, right? No other questions mattered. Same questions. How much would you score on a scale of 0 to 100? Rate yourself. Don't press enter yet. Uh, Wherever you're right, you must be writing your answers. Just evaluate yourself. We'll see those answers in a bit. Yash, any general reflection or like pointers you would give to Harshna so that the next one next interview that we do for someone to keep in mind? Any general things that you saw that you want to point out?
Shall I DM her in this case?
Uh, cool works. If there are some pointers from that which is like which can be useful in a general setting, maybe some pointers you can tell here, and then yeah, you can rest DM. That also works.
Okay, so for example, like I asked hosting and all those things. She said that like for example TDZ, that is a pretty common thing. Like, and I guess like in UG camp also, like that was being stressed out on key. Like in case of let and const, you need to explain that it goes into temporal dead zone and then hosting takes over. So that is something which is like something which everyone should know in this case. So basics part should be very strong enough so that like we can go ahead with the advanced version. So if the basics is something which is like people are dagmaga rahe hai usme, to it would be something ki it's sort of a red flag kind of thing. But overall it was good. I would say that like she missed out on few pointers, but I would say like all these basic concept you should be like ये पूछा है तो like मैं अच्छे से बताना है मेरे को. It should be like that. तो मतलब इधर तो गलती होनी नहीं चाहिए. It should be like that. So
Makes sense. This session is like all for tough love. Feedback is a gift, so yeah, everyone here is primed to take it in a positive way, because if you get no feedback, then there's no point of like 30 people showing up on a Saturday morning. So all right, there was one hand. Was it a question?
Yeah, me, Swapnil.
Yes, go for it for us.
So it was like a reflection that when I saw the questions asked to Harshana, initially I also thought that we need to get back to the table and work on our basics, the basic HTML and CSS. Like when we work on React, things become very easy. Like it is very easy to forget basics like the HTML thing and CSS thing. So we need to work on that. And like it is also like when initially I was not getting the questions, but the questions like temporal dead zone and hosting things like that, I was like able to understand that what to tell about that. So initially I was rating myself very low that oh my god, I don't know the basic questions, but it, like the later questions I was able to understand. So it was like a even out thing. So
All right. Let's see a 0 to 100 reflection on how well you fared on these questions. Again, it's a very objective thing, nothing to be sad about or nothing to feel very happy about, because it's just one instance, right? It also depends on which questions are you have been asked. Let's see those numbers in 3, 2, 1, go. All right, I see 60, 80, 50, 70, 50, 70, 50, 70, 90, 85. Wow, 75, 70, 60, 50. All right, cool. I think this is pretty good for the first mock interview. 50 above is super awesome. All right, we'll do one more quick round. Who wants to go next? There was one person who had volunteered before. Can anyone like सब लोग पीछे हो जाए उसको आगे कर दें तो बहुत ही अच्छा रहेगा मेरे लिए.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Guys, this is like if you don't step up here, this is like we are just friends here. No, none of us know everything, right? So you just have to step up now. Everybody is at your level. This is where you learn, right? So don't feel ashamed. Like, okay, so you can't answer a question, it's okay, but just step up and try it out.
All right. We want people who haven't had any interviews in the last 3 months. Who was the person who had raised their hand before last time?
Me, it was.
Huh?
I was. So
Cool. Faraz, let's go with you. Tony, I'm not picking you because you had an interview recently, you know it. Cool. Chalo.
All right. Hey Kushtar, let me know if I'm pronouncing your name right.
Yeah, you can call me Faraz if it is a bit difficult.
Faraz. Okay. All right.
And please excuse me, like there is construction going on, so there might be some disturbance.
It's fine. It's fine. And like, okay, so you have opened your screen already.
Yeah, just give me a second.
Well, I didn't ask you to, open JS Fiddle.
Yeah, I was just saying.
All right, all right. Firstly, like just like give a brief intro about your experience, and meanwhile, yeah, just stop sharing your screen. Like about your past experience and everything, just like we asked Harshna.
Yeah, so hi, I am Pushkar Faraz from Jamshedpur. Like currently I am working at Wipro as a project engineer. I also worked in a React based project for a brief period, like for a couple of months. And I started my web development journey like 1 year back. Since then, I've been learning JavaScript and React JS. And I love reading poetries and short stories. And my favorite one is The Alchemist, the novel. And I love reading Urdu poetries of Faiz Ahmad Faiz and Iqbal.
Nice, Faz. Even Saif Ali Khan loves Faz, if I'm not wrong. I've seen one interview of him.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
He's a good poet. All right. So, like, are you also part of Nuchi Camp?
No, I wasn't.
Okay. So could you please walk me through a couple of projects you have like built recently? Like you said that you were working in Wipro. So, like, do you have any projects which you're currently working on, like apart from your company project?
Yeah, so I made 5 projects for the Roc8. So like I can walk you through if you want me to. You're on
Okay,
mute.
if you could just tell me the title of it, like what those projects are in a gist, in a gist of it. What were those?
Okay, the 5 projects which I made, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those always basically the clone of the Rail application. One was the Amazon clone, the e-commerce application, and the other one was the Twitter clone, the social media application. The third one was Airbnb clone, the booking application. Fourth one was Netflix clone, like exact Netflix, except that it could play the trailer from the YouTube. And fifth one was the Spotify clone.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. And like all of those are full stack app. Like you have used your own backend, or how was it? Or you have used a Walk backend,
I used Firebase as a backend.
Firebase, in every project.
Yeah, almost every project.
Okay. Okay, all right. So like I'll walk you through the interview process. So we would be following the same process which we, like did in the past round, but like there would be a couple of tweaks as well. So like I'll start with the CSS part. All right. Now you can open your JS video.
Okay.
Okay, now like I want you to create, like, do you know donut chart? What exactly is donut chart? You can Google if you don't recall, if you can't recall right now. So this is it. It's just like, pie chart, but with a hole in center. Like I've given you the hint as well. So
So like these, it should reflect these different colors.
like there should be segments, and yeah, it should reflect a different color, but like like describing the legend is on you. Like legend as in this number is on you, whether you want to do it or not. But I would just want a simple donut chart. How would you go around that?
Right, it's right. So I think it is a concentric divs. So, oops.
Meanwhile, could you please explain me like what approach you are taking? Like how
Yeah,
would you?
so I am basically like creating two divs. One will be the outer circle, which will be completely colored up with red, supposedly, and then inner circle I will create a smaller one and try to center it and give it the color of the actual body.
Okay. So you said that outer circle you would be creating it for a single color.
Yeah.
But like there should be segments also, no? Like different segments. Like just if you could see the donut chart again, like there must be different. Okay. Like just continue with the approach which you are taking.
Why it is not taking?
It should be colon, not equals to.
Oops. Border.
Okay, Faraz, like, are you aware of this property called conic gradient?
Yeah, I know that actually, but I have not practiced it.
Okay, okay, leave it as of now. It's gonna take quite some time. So just retrospect, okay, again, key what kind of approach you would take. Ideally, the approach which I would take would be like creating a outer circle and then creating an inner circle as well, like creating a second circle. Like I would call it like create it as a punch hole, and then you would like using like flex box. I would basically put it in into the center, ideally. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, all right. Let me just like go to like JS questions now. So like firstly you said that you're working in Wipro as of now, right?
Yeah.
And you're working. So like could you please explain me what are like functional requirements and what are non-functional requirements?
Functional requirements are not like in the context of development.
Yeah, in a context of a project basically. So we have certain set of requirements which we should follow, right? So what are
Yeah.
functional requirements and non-functional requirements?
So like I don't know exactly, but as far as I can perceive it, like the requirements which are like mandatory, like if a project is there, what exactly the functions that should mandatorily be present in that project, and non-functional is the like not mandatorily ones.
Okay, could you give me an example of mandatory and non-mandatory things?
Like for example, if any project is hosted on web, so the functional requirement must be that like all its core functions should work, and like non-functional can be that responsiveness of its to different devices.
You sure that responsive should be non-functional requirements?
Like if it is very web-based project, like it might be like very surface level example, but I could think of it if it is not considered very important.
Okay, so non-functional requirements could be something like scalability, like how scalable the project is or how robust is it, what kind of performance optimization we would do
Like
after,
for-
you know.
Like
So
for
it
example,
would be like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, please continue.
Yeah, so like you were telling about scalability. So for example, if any application is supposed to be used by only 10 or 20 people at a time, so like it can be designed, like backend can be designed according to that. And for example, if any like Netflix or something, if it is being used by millions of users, so it should be scalable to that. So that could be the ability.
Okay, and like if you could explain me about what are microservices and what are monolithic architecture basically. So,
Yeah, so
and
microservice.
what are the advantages and like of both two? Like how should we go around choosing a microservices or how should we go around choosing a monolithic basically?
Yes, so monolith kind of a structure which was being followed earlier was that complete full stack of a project was being managed by a one organization, you can say, or at a one place, like complete front end, back end, database, everything was like on premise. And like microservices is like, dividing it into small segments. Like front end is like not independent, but it is being managed different at a different place. Backend is being managed at a different place, and database is being managed at a different place. For example, like you can harness AWS for scaling it, and MongoDB for managing the database. Front end you can use React, like this.
But we can do that in monolithic as well, right? Like you're telling that technologies which we can use, like I can use AWS and monolithic architecture as well. I can use React. You know, I hope you are getting my point. So what exactly is the like, standout difference between the two?
So as far as like I can perceive is that dividing every possible functions into small segments. Like if for initially, for example, if we needed any images, for example, so we needed to like host it into the like server or local environment as it. But like for now, we can harness the power of API to fetch that image from any different place. Like everything is divided into small parts, micro parts.
Okay, okay, got it. Okay, so tell like, do you know closures? What are closures? And if you know, like I want it in a proper detail, like how does it work with an example, of course.
Yeah, for sure. So for example, I'll show you via code. So for suppose this is a function. For suppose it is the outest function. So for suppose this is an outest function and it has a variable. For suppose a, which is having a value of b, and it inside this function there is another function. For suppose inner, and it is having another variable b, you can say, and it is console logging a as well as b. So like here the closure is, if I try to
Just remove your HTML and CSS, otherwise it would distract you.
So when we run this function outtest, this function will return this inner function, which is named as inner. And what is it, this inner function is doing is it is console logging the variable a and b. So like the scope of this function is only concerned between these two brackets, you can say. But what closure is like function along with the lexical environment of it. Like it what it does, it knows that it requires this a variable. So when this function is executing, no, so it is remembering the this path or this value, you can say that what a is. So it is actually forming a closure with a. So even if we return this function from outtest, this inner function, it in a way remembers this value, and that a is equal to 10. So this is actually a closure. It is forming a closure with a.
Okay, so what is the benefit of closure use? Like why do we use it?
So like closure can be very helpful in applying concepts of data hiding. So for example, if I have to say, if, so for suppose I'm making a counter, if like this, for suppose this is a counter function, and if this inner counter function is not wrapped up inside any function, if this variable is like out hanging in a global space, so anybody can manipulate that. So what closure does is, closure is, wrapping this up and protecting this from outer environment. Although this thing remembers the value of a, but nobody outside this scope can alter this. So that provides the advantage of data hiding. And closure also help in registering APIs like set timeout and asynchronous programming. And I don't know, like I have heard somebody that it helps in modularity and designing.
Okay, and like from where did you hear this? Like you said that you heard somebody.
Yeah, so actually I was learning these things from Namaste JavaScript. So there I learned it.
Okay, okay, all right. So like could you please explain me about this keyword in JS?
This keyword. Yeah, so
Yeah.
actually like this keyword gives the context of anything. For example, uh, if we are creating a constructor, so this keyword has different work in different places. For suppose if there is any object, for suppose it is const user, it is an object, its name is, suppose, for us. And if we are, for suppose, displaying or details, for example, if it is ages, for example, detail, for suppose details is a function. Okay, it is a function which will give the details of a user. So this, to reuse this function, like using call, apply or bind, we cannot hard code it. What we do is we use this keyword to give the context to this function. So if we'll do this console log dot dot age, and if we are using this function in any different place using call, for example, if there is any different other object, user 2, and it is also having for suppose it is not having this function, but we try to bind that details function with this, so what we will do is we will do user to dot, what we are calling it, how will we do that? User. Dot details. Maybe we did something like where we passed context. Context is user function dot call. Dot details dot call. Yeah. So like this. Here we pass context using this. So what this does, here this, it takes in the context, like we are calling this user.details, this function, which is hosted inside this object, and we can use it using this keyword. Like it takes in the context, and here the context is user two. It is simply taking in the context and applying this function over this object.
Okay, okay. So I can for example, let's just say like if I want to, like call a regular function, like it's not an arrow function. So just give me one word answer, like where does this points to?
Window object.
Window object. And what exactly is window object?
It is a global object which is created when any execution context is created, and all the global variables are attached to that object. We can reuse those global variables and functions.
Okay. And in case of arrow function, where does it points to?
Yeah, in case of arrow function only, I was telling about that it points to global object. In this case, like when in place of this function, if it would have been arrow function, then it would have pointed to global object.
In arrow function, it points to the global object. That means window object, right?
Yeah, window object.
And in case of regular function call?
In case of regular function call, it points to this local scope. What do you call it? That local scope object, that memory space has been created in the local what do you call it, script, I guess. Yeah, it points to that. I guess.
You sure about these things, like regular function and arrow function?
Yeah, I am sure that in case if it was regular like arrow function here in place of this regular function, then it would have pointed to window object. That I am sure about.
Okay, okay. Okay, so tell me an example. Like you said that you have built like 5 projects for like recently. So like tell me like what is debouncing, and like if you would have used that concept in one of your projects.
Yeah, so I used it in one of my projects, but I actually harnessed Lodash to implement that. So like debouncing is a process in which we limit the constant call of anything like any API. If for suppose if any event is happening, and for every click of, for suppose if we are typing in any input to an input field, and for every type of for every press of a key, for suppose that event is triggering and function, and that function in a way is calling an API. So if the debouncing would not have been present, then for every press of a key, that API would be hit, and it in a way it will break if there was millions of users. So what we do is we limit that function call using debouncing. So if there is any certain delay between two specific key presses, then only API is being called. Otherwise, it is not called. That is called debouncing.
Okay, and like what is the difference between throttling and debouncing? Like if you know throttling, what it does, so what is the key difference between?
Yeah, throttling actually is a rate limiter. So throttling, what it does is like throttling limits the rate between two successive events, like whether it is a key click or button click. For example, I can give you the analogy of a game. For in a game, what happens is like when suppose a gun is getting fired. So if we are constantly pressing it, even for a 3 press, only one fire will be triggered. That is called a throttling process. Like we are limiting the process, and debouncing depends on the delay. For if there is any certain amount of delay, then only the API or anything will be called. And if the delay is less, then it will not be called. One is the limiter, one depends on delay.
Okay. So like have you used any search functionality in one of your project? I guess in e-commerce, have you used your search
No.
functionality? Like you haven't used any search functionality in all of your projects.
Yeah, there was one search functionality in Airbnb, but it was like not a API hitting. Like I had created 5 dummy APIs which was getting called on every search. So not any core search functionality as of now.
Okay. So do you know what are polyfill methods? What exactly is polyfill?
Yeah, polyfill. So there is this concept like several browsers, they support something and they don't support something. For suppose like there were old browsers like in which JavaScript was run differently, and now it is being run differently. And now also like several things are being supported on Chrome and not on Safari and things like that. So what we do is for any functions which is there, we write a polyfill, or like you can say a fall upon method. Like if suppose any method is not working, then that control will fall upon any polyfill method. So that is a polyfill.
Okay, so like here, like in your code, like the code which you have explained over here, right? You have used call method over here. Could you give me an example where we can use, apply or, bind method? Like why should we use, in what case should we use bind method or apply method?
Yeah, so bind call method is like in call method, what we can do is like we can take parameters, but parameters we can take like one by one, comma separated. And in like apply method, we can take all the parameters in a go in a form of array. And bind method,
Arrays.
yeah, arguments of arrays. So and in the bind method, what we do is like whenever we call a bind method, so this bind method will in a way return a function which we have to call afterwards. So if we will bind this method to any function, so it will simply bind it to that, and we can later call it whenever we like want to. I actually knew the execution, but now I am like not in touch with it. So
Got it. Okay, so like I have one last question, and that would be on React, like just a basic thing to check. Like otherwise, like I would have wanted you to create a component, but I can see that time is running out. But maybe we can have that in the next round. So just tell me, like what is the difference between use memo hooks and use callback? Like and like what different use case should we follow these things? And like which is like like this, for this particular use case this should be followed, and for another particular use case like use callback could be followed. So just tell if you know that thing. Use
yeah,
memo and
so
use
I know one difference, like in use memo hook, whenever we are using a use memo in any function, so it is memoizing it, and it is like limiting it to the value of it. For example, if any function is returning, for example, 1 2 3, like array 1 2 3, and if we are memoizing it, so if that value is changing 1 2 3, if that is changing, then only the function I mean the whatever component will be like triggered, or like any new function will be created. But in case of use callback, like whole function is memoized. Like okay, I tell like
what is memoization? Like you said memoized, right? Sorry, I'm not pronouncing it right if I'm not but memoization, yeah.
Memoization is like caching a value or function For example, if any function is getting called, so if it was called earlier for any particular value, and if it has already the solution for that particular value, then it will be cached to some place, and that cached value will be returned, and this function will not be triggered. And if any new value is getting sorry, if that function is getting called for any new value, then only this function is executed. Otherwise, it is not executed. This is called minimization.
Okay, and like, have you used that particular thing in any of your project?
Minimization, no.
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 Okay. Okay, so one last question basically. So what exactly is the difference between CSS resetting and CSS normalization?
No idea actually. Never heard about it.
Never heard of it.
CSS
Okay.
resetting, I can like, I might be wrong, but like whenever we create any project, we like go into the root of it and create a star mark, like do the styling for that star mark. That might be some resetting work which we do. I might be wrong.
And normalization?
Normalization. No idea about that.
Okay. All right then. Like I have just one last question. So basically, like we are a pre-seed startup. All right, and pre-seed as in like we have just now like taken our first round, and like we have plans to basically like grow ourselves. Basically, like we have this like we have not launched our MVP yet. That is like we are still in like finding the product market fit stage. So just tell me like what is your style of working? Like you said that you're coming from Wipro, so I understand that you must be working on client project. So now that you would be like you would be working for a product based company. So like how would you go around it? Like there must be some paradigm shift, right? So I'm not sure what kind of project you were working on in Wipro. So let's just say what kind of approach or what kind of habit which you are following you would be following over here in our company.
So like it will depend upon the uh, task which I have been asked to complete. For so like as a developer, what we used to do is like the task which we are being getting assigned by our tech lead. There was some certain time limit to complete those tasks, and we used to complete in that very time limit. And if I'm assuming that if any seed round, like if any new startup is there and I have to work over there, then those time limit will be less because we need to deliver as soon as possible. So like I need to adjust myself in that very time limit to deliver the feature which I am asked to. That is the difference I am perceiving.
Okay, so like some of the times like we require to work on weekends as well. So like because like since like our like basically investors are like hitting on our head multiple times like these are the deadlines, or let's just say something functionality which we need to do, or let's just say something broke in production. So like do you mind keeping yourself on call some of the times? Let's just say like we require some folks to be working on Sunday, Saturday just for a few hours to see whether we could like if any problem occurs in production, we need people to work on that. So
Yeah, some of the occasion it is fine, but like some it depends. Like you asked some of the occasions, right?
okay, so like sometimes you want to work. Got it.
No, you
All
asked
right then.
on
Yeah,
some of the occasions, no, that some of the
yeah,
occasions.
yeah.
So the some of the occasions is fine for me.
Got it. Okay, yeah, thanks for your time for us. That would be it.
Thanks, Yash. Oh my God, I was getting this vibe of a real interview. I don't know how I performed, but it was really nice. Thank you
No,
for
yeah, like it was good only. Like there were certain things. Yeah.
it. The problem with me, that I know stuff, but I fail to, communicate it clearly. So I have to work upon it. I know.
Mhm. And like basically, yeah, it was good only. Like you have explained the problems which I have asked. Like although like I had few certain like logic checking problems, but there were not like time wasn't allowing that, but it was good, I must say. But what you could do is like, for example, you said that like you have made couple of projects. So with every example, with every example you are like telling, be it closures or be it debouncing, throttling, it would be really awesome. And you could stand your way out if you could explain that, you see this thing I have implemented this in one of my project,
Yeah,
like that.
I'll
And
surely
like
look.
so yeah, that would be it. But and one more thing, I know this is beyond your control, but like the background noise, right? It would be something which really troubles the panel a lot. Like I know even like I'm having background noise, but like if you could invest in good headphones, basically that would be really helpful in this case.
Yeah, surely.
But
You-
nonetheless, you did amazing.
or you can also install Crisp so that it filters out the background noise for you. Cool. We had reflection from Faraz. Yash, if you can like share some more feedback pointers on like you can be like as harsh as possible, because like even if you feel that hey, this is a small thing that you missed, like if you had to like roast Harshna and Faraz,
Oh
how
god.
would that be? Because again, see, the success metric of all of the sessions that we have here is they eventually clear the interviews, right? So like we only help them when we give them even small things to work on. Like it's better that they get this now rather than make the same thing in a real interview. So like if you had to like roast both of them, like how would that be?
Okay, so first instance I would find like in Faraz was like width equals to 200 pixels, something like that. So he took quite a time around that, and that was I know that that is something which is very basic and which everyone should know, but it sometimes happen. But how quickly you find your way around that thing is something which like he should look out for. And for example, other thing which I could find is like, if like for example I have asked this keyword or closures, so if you could just give me a definition first along with, so that like you could break the ice. For example, like closure is something which is very hard, or which is very complex. Not many, like even I am not properly versed with closures as of now. So if you could give a basic introduction, like what, like for example, if you could explain key outer function, like it takes the property for the invokes the property of inner function and outer function or something like that. If you could explain a gist of it and then go ahead with the basic example of it, like the basic example which that you could like raat mein utke bhi kar lunga main agar, it should be like on your tips. So like you could not take, for example, you were taking like lot of time in explaining different concepts. Like for example, a concept which should be over in 2 to 3 minutes, like it you took quite a lot of time to explain that. So like I had like, because every interview they come up with certain set of questions which they need to ask. Like they have certain marking system over there. He like, if like since the time ran out, I couldn't judge you on a problem statement, so that would be a red flag in that case. So like how well you explain your projects along with the time complexity, not the time complexity as in not that algorithm wala, but time complexity based on your interview basically.
All right, all right. I still feel Yash is a bit holding back. I'll maybe do another roast of Harshna and Faraz. I see that yeah, I think you need a more roast. Let's do it. But I think from a question perspective, I really like the diversity of the questions being asked. Like, yeah, that is like pretty cool. Let's do a quick reflection. Rate yourself on a scale of 0 to 100 on, okay, I copy pasted. So you can see this is on Faraz's questions. Rate yourself. If you I hope you all were coding along on JS Fiddle, and if you had to self-evaluate 0 to 100, let's see those scores in 3, 2, 1, go. All right, we see 75, 55, 65, 75, 10, 60, 50, 70, 50, 80, 45. Yeah, I just want you to note that this is a without pressure thing for all of you. And when you get on the hot seat, the pressure at least triples. Even if something that you might just fumble, and then it snowballs really fast. One question you're not able to answer, the interviewer says, okay, let's move on, and your confidence is like gone. Okay, a bunch of things. Cool. I think that's all we had planned for today. Yes.
And one more thing I need to add, like he said that I heard this from someone in one of his question. Like you should never say that, man. Like this is something which is, like you are following someone, and even like if you have heard, that means you have not researched that properly, and you are not confident in that part. And like if you have made projects, so you should, like like bind everything with your project. Like every example which you are giving, you should bind that, because that is something which is, like basically that is something which is a sword to your armor basically. Like you have made 5 projects, just dive around that thing. You see, in this particular example I've used this, like maybe if the time allows and if everything goes well, so you could give live demo as well in one of your basically EC, for example, debouncing and throttling. Like one just common feature I would say in searching, I guess majority of you must have used debouncing and throttling. So you could have explained that. You see, like in this particular Amazon, like you said that you have made Amazon clone, so you could have shown that thing. Basically you need to help the interviewer basically, so that let's just say if he has some like very really complex question in his mind, so you shouldn't give time to him to ask that thing if you are not very versed on that particular topic. So you need to like move your way around the interview.
Sure, yes. Thanks. That was really insightful.
Awesome. Tony, you have a question?
Yeah, so I just have 3 questions. So I mean 4 questions. Like just basic doubts. So so when the interview starts,
Is it
should
to
we
me
start?
or is it to Yash?
I mean anyone.
Okay, go ahead.
Just basic, yeah. So like when the interview starts, should we start sharing directly or should we wait for the interviewer to instruct us to start sharing a screen?
I'll let Yash take this one.
Like I would suggest that whenever interviewer asks, right, you should share your screen, then only you should do that. Because like face-to-face communication is something which everyone looks out for. Like if you are sharing your screen, like I can't see you properly. But in this Faraz case, I like he must have taken the insight from our previous interview, so that's why like he shared it ki, like if I've asked Harshna to open that JS fiddle, like he might. But yeah, you should take that pointer in your mind next time. Like do something which only the interviewer asks you to do.
Okay, so like just to follow up on that same thing, like once we start sharing a screen, right? So should we just have an editor open or should we wait for the
No, because something like, for example, I've seen in many of the interviews, and like I've like heard from couple of my friends as well, they ask you to code on Google Docs as well. So
Okay, got it.
because many of the editors, they provide the emit functionality. For example, like Harshna was struggling in writing the HTML, like the basic skeleton of HTML. So I just give a hint that you could use emit. So emit is something even which I don't use. I don't like to use snippets or something. I just do, like, for example, if I want to write any function, I do it in a proper way. If I want to write any div, for example, so I just write properly, not like div and then that arrow and then h1. I don't use emits. So because we are just beginners, so this is something which syntax is something which we should be on our tips, so that we don't fumble around in interview. Like same case as you could see happened with Harshna in HTML, and width equals to that thing. So
Got it. And just another question is, so how much is too much for an explanation for a question? Like, I don't understand if the interview is expecting a lot more, or am I saying it less, the explanation less? Like, how do I know that or something? Is there any clue, hint?
well, I guess this part Swapnil should answer, because even I am very
Right. So like I keep saying in the sessions, get to the point fast. Whatever the question asks you to answer it in 20, 30s, max 40 seconds flat. Whatever you want to add up, you can keep adding until the interviewer stops you. But if you don't answer the question, and I when I was seeing you, like I wanted to roast. I think there were 1 or 2 places wherein it's like I had a stopwatch in my hand. Okay, it's 20 seconds. You have not even started answering the question. It's 30 seconds. It's 40 seconds. It's been 1 minute. There is no solution to the exact question that the person is asking. They're asking a very specific thing that you can answer in 10 seconds, 20 seconds. Let's say if it's debouncing, you can explain. You should not explain without debouncing, right? Like if you take 1 minute without debouncing, it does not tell me anything that you know it or not. But if the other person is asking, hey, what is debouncing? Explain it in 20 seconds. With debouncing, we prevent this, right? And then you can continue going, hey, without debouncing, aise hoga. Then there are related concepts to it, like rate limiting, throttling ho gaya. There's one more. What is that? What had you asked? What was it? There were. So basically, then you can continue adding related concepts to it. So those are brownie points, but allow the interviewer a chance to move on to the next question, because like Yash said, interviewers always come with their questions in mind. But if you answer the question to the point very fast, they can mark a check next to the question that they were asking. Then if whatever you are answering next, whatever things you're adding next, if they are complex enough and they can note down, hey, this person knows this as well, they'll continue listening to you. And in this case, you are driving the conversation. If they feel, hey, this is too basic, they can move on to the next question. But like always allow the interviewer an option to move to the next question within 40 seconds to 1 minute. Like there's no question that should take you more than this to answer exactly to the point.
Got it, sir. Okay, and this one more question. So like I didn't get the difference between functional and non-functional requirements. Like, or can you give me the difference?
Okay, so for example, let's just say a project company, like I only asked this thing because he said that he was already working in a company. So I assume that he must be aware between, you know, what all requirements or what are, like, for example, in Newg also there were certain, basically, like, I don't remember the name, what was, some PRDs basically, right?
Yeah.
You have PRD. So functional requirement is something that, like, even if the one of the requirement is not fulfilled, the product can't go to the launch stage. For example, if you are making a, like, for example, a banking site, so a payment functionality is something which is, you know, very
Obvious.
which is very much required. Without that, it shouldn't go to the production. And non-functional requirement is something which should, like, it's good to have. It's not mandatory, but it's good to have. For example, like how scalable the product is, like how do you optimize the performance of it. So it's generally asked when you are, you know, applying in companies where they look out for an individual contributor, so that, you know, like he can have a proper understanding of all these things.
Got it. Yeah.
Like document, like how to maintain documentation and all those things.
Thanks, Yash. Thanks for.
All right. Any final questions, reflections, anything you want to talk about? I have a hard stop in 9 minutes. So yeah, we have some time. Yes, for us.
Yeah, so I want to ask from like my experience only. So what to do, like if we don't know anything, so what should we state to the interviewer? Like one thing you told, no, that never tell that from where did you, like you heard it from somewhere, or like you, the things like that. So what should exactly we should tell it?
Yes, over to you.
Okay, so what I generally do is, like, if I don't know anything, I just say I don't know. Like, to be honest, like I just tell them honestly, like I don't know, like just give me some time, probably I'll, you know, like reiterate it over after the interview. So like I don't give some like hazy or hair around answer, because like if something gets wrong, he would be thinking कि इसको ये भी नहीं आता और इसने ये जो बताया उसको वो भी नहीं आता. Like if you know, like basically give a wrong answer. So like I would simply say कि no, I don't know that thing, if I really don't know.
Yeah, and just last question, you know, the question which you asked me regarding that seed round funding wala question. So what interview expects from me, that if somebody asks me to work on a weekend event, so what should I answer?
Well, that is a very personal choice, I would say, but in most of the companies, like as I said, that we are finding a product market fit. Like that means like our product is not yet launched. Like it must be launched, that MVP must be launched, but there are certain set of things. Like it completely depends on the kind of company which you are applying for. For example, like if you are applying in the company which I asked you, right, that is pre-seed round 2, you should show that, you know, ki matlab, haan, matlab if you ask me to work, I'll slog my ass off. It must be like that, because you know there are like n number of candidates available, and you must be like seeing now, right, ki like layoffs are happening like anything. So like even for a, you know, entry level role, people are applying for, you know, people are applying with having an experience of 1 or 2 years or so. So like even if you don't want to work, they just want to check whether you are aligned with the, you know, job or not. So you should definitely say that. At least that's what I do in general, because they are looking for those people, so that like in most of the times they handle ESOPs as well. So they need to have a look onto that particular candidate ki like like who wants to go all in. So it would like like act as an, you know, added advantage, because like since like you are coming from a, you know, like project that company, like service based company. So like they are quite aware that what kind of, you know, work style is being followed over there. And basically all these big tech giants, basically, so they know that the process is quite slow, so they just want to check that how, like how soon you can get the ball rolling and in what manner. So you should ideally say that, yeah, like I'm willing to work. Like basically on call is something in which every company, like developers are supposed to be on call some of the time. So you should say that, yeah, like I'm willing to work.
Thanks, Yash. That was really nice.
We'll also cover these questions in a future session. We just had this right now because this is how typically the structure of an interview is, which is starts with introduction, then you have technical questions, and then it adds again with a casual, like a behavioral round of question. So we'll cover that later. So don't worry about it. I just want to like emphasize that again. Like this was the first mock interview. The success metric of the session is that you go after this session, what just happened to me? Like I thought I was ready. So that is the success metric of this session. For now, just don't search for more questions. Whatever was discussed today, make sure that you 100% understand everything. If there's something you don't understand, ask on Discord. We can discuss in future sessions as well. But let's get these things clear over this weekend itself, because again, we'll have more sessions later. Any final questions before we wrap off? All right. Yash, any final words of wisdom, motivation you want to share? This is the first time they had this mock interview. Yeah.
Like just that basics should be, you know, be on your tips. That is something which even I used to struggle a lot. But and like speaking of the competitive coding part, I would say that it depends on the company which you want to apply. For example, like many companies like, you know, Illusion, or let's just say big tech giants, they keep a check on competitive coding part, especially the basic array or, you know, string manipulation question should be, you know, on your tips. Because as a front-end engineer, like you're not supposed to know each and everything in detail, but like basic array or string manipulation questions along with basics, because not many companies ask around React and all. They keep a check on your project, and it depends on you how you drive them to your projects. So basics should be very good,
Awesome. All
especially
right.
the CSS part in for front-end developers.
Yeah. I think like both interviews started with CSS. I'm pretty sure like most of the people in the cohort would not have expected कि CSS to start hoga. So that's always there. Cool. With that, we'll end this session. We'll see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. So make sure you sleep early. Yash, if you can just hang around for a few minutes. Just would love to sync up what's up, what's happening. And yeah, thank you for doing this on a Saturday morning, early morning. I know like waking up early is like a super, I don't know, a hard thing. Yeah, I also struggle with it. But yeah, thanks for doing this, and we'll see you next time. Okay. End में ये what is this, Harshna? This is like first bencher behavior. बताओ.
No, I just wanted to ask Yash if I could connect with him after call.
Yeah, sure.
So sorry.
Anyone else? Anything? All right, cool then, folks. Have a good day. See you tomorrow morning. Bye bye.